one of those people who, when you're out in a group, you're constantly concerned whether other people are having a good time or not, whether their needs and wants are met? Are you constantly anxious and on edge to make sure that everybody around you is happy and content, and for some reason that falls on your head? If that's the case, then most likely you are a people pleaser. Also, you like making sure that everybody else comes above you and your wants and needs. By definition, a people pleaser is someone who has an emotional need to make sure that everybody else around them is happy, most times at the expense of their own needs and desires, which could be very detrimental to us if we're continuously prioritizing everyone else but ourselves. And to me, people pleasing is in a way people misleading, because you are altering yourself and you are putting on a front and being misleading to people just to make sure that they're happy and content, and you are not being your authentic self. That's why even when you try and reach these people's needs and cater to them and accommodate them, you still kind of feel empty and hollow inside, because that's not your real authentic self that you're putting out on display. A lot of us suffer from certain traits of trying to be a people pleaser or making sure that people around us are happy, but that's no good to us or anyone around us, and that needs to be stopped. Now, if this sounds like you or something that you would do, then this video is definitely for you. If you're new to me, my name is Hamasa, and here I look at personal development as well as mental and emotional well-being and day-to-day issues. So welcome to my page. Press the subscribe button so that you're up to date with my content, and please introduce yourself in the comment section below. Let's jump into it. Where does people pleasing stem from? And like most of these psychological obstacles, issues, they stem from our childhood. Now, if we grew up in an environment that one or more of our parents were very critical, very hard to please, wouldn't acknowledge your wins, would always be about their wants and needs and what they wanted. If you didn't understand your maths homework, your dad then screamed and shouted at you, and so the reaction was always very extreme. So someone completely would flip out at you for getting something wrong, for doing something, for expressing how you felt. And so you felt that you needed to be a certain type of person to win approval of this figure of authority. And so you continuously and constantly searched for ways for winning approval and putting a smile on their face. And so you went about not being your authentic self because your authentic self got told off. So you would put on a front and be a certain way to make sure that you win this approval of this person. And also, the misleading part of it comes from us possibly being in home environments where you felt the need that you had to lie to someone to protect them or keep them happy. And so you started making things up or being dishonest just so you could protect the peace. And so you fell into a habit of trying to always do and say things to keep that peace and make sure that you're winning the approval and you're in the good books. And that stayed with you now into adulthood. But the difference is that we're now in a position to be able to make choices of who we allow around us. And so those people-pleasing behaviors are not relevant right now. There isn't that figure of authority or someone that you need to win their approval of. That particular person is probably no longer in a place of authority in your life anymore. So as soon as you become aware that this behavior isn't necessary anymore, you don't need to protect yourself, you don't need to do this to protect anyone else or to win this approval, you're a grown adult. And so you have a choice of who you surround yourself with, friends, family, whoever that may be. You can make that decision. And if someone doesn't make you feel good, you don't necessarily have to win their approval. Whereas as a kid, you feel the need that you need to do that. And so it's a habit. So you need to understand and become aware that you have this habit. And if you do, it's just not need for it anymore. It's not needed. Of course, we all have desires to be needed and liked. But if that means that it is making you unhappy and feel empty inside because you're so busy trying to meet other people's needs and trying to be liked by everyone, then you really need to ask yourself why and where is this stemming from? Who was it in your life that made you feel like you had to protect them or keep the peace or lie or please them just so it's peace in the household? So once you're aware of how you feel or how you behave, then there are certain things that you can do to make you understand and realize that you are enough in your true, authentic self. You don't need to put on a front to win people over or to make sure to win brownie points or to reassure them. And you should know that you are enough as you are. And if you're not enough for certain people, then they don't need to be in your life, because that is who you are. So either they accept you for you or they don't need to be around you. So what are the things that you can do to make sure that you know your worth and value? And the first thing would be to validate yourself. Most of you guys always message me and ask how I deal with negativity online or from our community by doing what I do or the life I live or the job that I've chosen. And the reason that it doesn't really get to me or the negativity doesn't bother me, because I don't base my self-worth and value on other people's opinions. And that's one big piece of advice for me to you guys when it comes to people pleasing. The minute you stop basing your self-worth on what other people think of you, then it's a lot easier for you to be your authentic self, because you don't really care if people like you or not. You are who you are. And you will grow comfortable and confident in being that, because you don't really care about people's opinions or what they say. So validating yourself is not basing your true self-worth on other people's opinions. Like, understand what you're capable of, understand your weaknesses, understand your strengths, because all those things, the weaknesses and the strengths together, make you you. And therefore, if you know your weaknesses, you acknowledge them and you're working on them, if someone else points them out to you, it doesn't really faze you so much, because it's like, oh yeah, I know I do that and I'm aware of it and I'm working on it. So that weakness is no longer a weakness, it's a lesson. Like I've mentioned in my videos previously, you always teach people how to treat you. You set an example of the way you treat yourself and how you regard yourself for other people to regard you and treat you in the same way. So if you're validating yourself, you need to take some time out to reflect, to, like I said before, to understand your weaknesses and strengths and know yourself well, your desires, what you look for, your wants, your needs, your future. And once you know yourself well enough, then it's easier for you to differentiate what you think of yourself and what other people think of you. And understand that what you think of yourself is way more important than what anyone else thinks of you. When you become aware of the past and why you are in this people-pleasing mode, then you could see where that need came from and who was it that didn't validate you. And the minute you know how to do that for yourself, then you can meet your own needs. So when you meet your own needs, you don't go out looking for validation from other people. Therefore, you don't people-please anymore. My second piece of advice for you guys would be, if you want to stop people-pleasing, is to learn to say no. Now that's easier said than done, but for someone who's always happy to help out and be there for people, saying no can become very tricky and very, very uncomfortable. So, to practice saying no, first of all, you need to understand that the outcome may not always, probably most times, will not be bad. It won't be the end of the world, and people will not turn around and think that you're an awful person for saying no. But just to make sure that you're comfortable with saying no, there are two things you can do. And one of them is to say no to someone that you trust and you're close to, and so you know their reaction and you know that it wouldn't be taken out of context, or they wouldn't see you in a different light if you say no to them. So practice on someone that you're close with and you feel comfortable and you know that they will understand and respect your no. And that way, I'm not saying go out and tell your best friend, no, I'm not helping you ever at all. But if you are getting asked to come out for a walk in the park and you don't feel like it, then it's okay for you to say no and do it with someone that you feel comfortable. Secondly, if you want to say no to people, then do it. And if you feel really uncomfortable doing that, then do it by giving them an ulterior solution. Let's say they ask to meet up with you and you don't want to, you're very busy and you've got a lot on, but you're the kind of person who always takes stuff on and says yes, and then gets really resentful and gets very bitter towards the person. So then say, not this week, but let's try and reschedule for another time. Give them a date, that way you're more comfortable, because you know that you're not completely turning that person away. You're giving them a solution. You're telling someone else, oh, I can't do it, but maybe ask so and so, and they might be able to keep you company. So it's not a complete rejection. It's just you buying yourself time, or figuring out whether you really want to do this, or you're saying no in a way that's not very abrupt or harsh, so you feel comfortable saying it. And also, when you start saying no to people, make sure that you have a good support system, because sometimes it could be very, very difficult saying no to someone that you've always said yes to. So when you say that no, you would want to call a friend, be like, oh my god, I just said no to so-and-so and I'm freaking out and this is how I'm feeling. So make sure that you have someone that understands that you're trying to learn how to place your boundaries, and you're trying to, set these new boundaries that you're not comfortable with, so that when you go through the steps and you are making these changes and applying them, you have the support system to be able to reflect back on and speak about and get it off your chest. Because like I said, for people who are people pleasers, it's not very easy to say no. So for some of us it comes very naturally, and others find it extremely difficult. So when you're making that change or making that journey, it's good to have a support system. My next piece of advice to you guys would be to take some time for yourself, to learn about yourself. Again, this comes to validating yourself, but also every time you say yes to someone, it's probably at the expense of saying no to something that you've had planned out for yourself. So of course your time has to be divided between you and other people. But if you're continuously saying yes to people, then that means that you're continuously saying no to yourself. So make sure that you put some time aside so that you could spend some time on yourself, on your wants, needs, likes, whatever that may be, reflection, reading, that you are still making sure that your needs and priorities are met first, and then everybody else's, because you cannot be filling other people up from an empty jug. You can't be running on empty and making sure that everybody else is happy and fulfilled. It's just not possible. If you're not fulfilled, that will come out in everything that you do for people, and it's because you're doing it to win brownie points, not because you want to help out. So that's not genuine, and in the end, no one's really feeling happy about it. You are just wasting people's time instead of being genuine. And you're wasting your own, and you're neglecting yourself. Good practice to take some time for yourself is always saying, I'll get back to you. So if someone asks you to do something, go somewhere, commit to something, best thing to do is say, sure, can I get back to you? That way you're buying time and you're giving yourself time to decide whether you want to commit to something. Next thing to stop yourself from being a people pleaser or mislead people into believing that you're something that you're not is to have a clear-cut goal of where you want to be in the future. When you have a goal set, then you are working towards that. And so you could see whether these people or the things that you're doing are beneficial in getting you to your goal of where you want to be. And once you realize that your behavior, these people, what's going on around you is not really helping you achieve that goal or get somewhere in life, then you need to really make a choice and make a decision of whether you want to engage on like running around pleasing people and putting other people's needs and wants ahead of your own when you have a task at hand. And that puts things into perspective and kind of pulls you back of that mindset. And finally, I'd say that you need to remove toxic people from your life. Toxicity comes in every shape, size, and form. And so if people are really making you feel like you cannot be your true, authentic self around them, and that you have to put on a front or you have to do things for people to like you, then those people do not deserve a place in your life. Remember that. So understand that toxicity isn't good, is holding you back, is making you act in a way that's not really truly who you are. And so you're detrimental to yourself and to the people around you. Like people pleasing, for example, if you're in a relationship with someone And you're only with them because of sympathy, not because you're in love anymore, or you've gotten over them, but you just don't want to rock the boat, or that you feel like they need you, therefore you're sticking around, then you're there for sympathy. You're pitying them. That's why you're with them. So instead of them finding their true love and finding someone who values them as who they are, and so could reciprocate the feelings that they have, you're actually holding them back from meeting that person because you don't want to rock the boat, and you don't want them to not like you. So therefore you're keeping your mouth shut, but really you're just holding someone back, wasting their time and wasting your own. You say no to some of these toxic people, it will not be easy, and they will not take it as they should, because they're used to getting it their way from you, and they're used to just having you do things for them. So no one's going to like that change. And so when you say that and you set your boundaries and they're not happy with that, then you know where you stand and you know what to do, and you need to get rid of them. My final and last piece of advice for you guys would be to stop saying sorry when you don't need to. I personally know people who are like, I would bump into them and they would be like, sorry, sorry, sorry. Or they would drop something and it's like, sorry, sorry, sorry. It's like, but what have you actually done wrong? Take a minute. If you're one of those people that just says sorry all the time, understand that when you genuinely mean an apology, people can't take you seriously because you've said it and thrown it around so easily that people don't believe your sorries anymore. Secondly, have you actually done something wrong? If you've dropped a pencil, that's okay. You don't need to apologize 10, 15 times. All you're doing is undermining yourself. And again, you're teaching people to continue undermining you because you are doing that. So stop saying sorry for things that don't need an apology. That's all. Like, it's okay to apologize when you've done wrong, but if you're just doing little things and apology is just coming out of you nonstop, then you don't need to do that. Like I said before, you are enough. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. You really need to stop seeking your worth and basing it on other people's thoughts, opinions, and expectations of you. And you need to really get to know your true self and understand what makes you happy and validate that. If you have any tips of your own on how to stop people pleasing, or if you have any experience in people pleasing, please do write them in the comments below and share your experience with us. Please subscribe to my channel, like and comment on this video, and I will see you guys here again next week. Thank you for watching. Mwah.